Hello once more. I am that I am, embodied master in service. To be in service, but not to be a servant. Oh, a beautiful thing. In other words, to be in service, to be in an expression with others, without getting caught into it, without being trapped into it. That is a beautiful thing. Title, I think, of this video is going to be Parables, or The Parables. You may know what a parable is. It's usually a story that has a meaning within it. You may have read a bunch of parables as school children to teach you things. What's in the Bible are parables, stories with teachings interlaced within them. But I want to go beyond parables, beyond story. Let's put it this way. One of the letters of one of the apostles, I believe it was John, but I could be wrong. I am not a Bible thumper. It's not my expertise. I'm not a Bible studier. I don't know it inside and out. Don't need to. I believe, I'm not really sure if it's even in the Bible. It might be in one of the Gnostic texts or the Dead Sea Scroll type thing. But I think it was John who said it. It was one of the apostles. And what he wrote in the letter to somebody, and that's not to even mean if it was said to be John, doesn't mean it actually was John. Maybe I'll get into that later. But he said there were two teachings of Christ. One was the parables for the children, and the other was the true teachings for the initiated. I would say the initiated, for those who had grown up, who were no longer children, who had wisdom enough to be talked to in an adult fashion, who didn't need the children's stories anymore. They had eyes to see, ears to hear, which simply just means they had awareness, they had consciousness, they were awake enough. Because what is awakening? Awakening is, what are you awakening to? You're awakening to the realization of who you are. You're coming back into your senses, your angelic senses. You're coming out of the mind. You're coming back to the remembrance that you are consciousness, that you exist, and you are aware that you exist. You have always existed, and you were never created. You are creation itself. That is what awakening means. You're coming back into awareness. You're becoming more sensitive to things because you're starting to feel again. You're starting to feel with your heart. You don't really know that at the time. A lot of people don't realize that. They take it into the mind and think something's wrong with it. You're just becoming more sensitive. You're coming back to your true senses. Your angelic senses. Your divine senses. And it's confusing at first. You're starting to feel things but you don't know what it is. It's not very conscious yet. It's kind of unconscious feeling. But that's what we're here to help with. To get you to start consciously using those senses. Consciously feeling into things. Consciously letting that energy go out and reflect itself back to you. But as I said, as I believe what the Apostle John said, there's two teachings. One for the children, the parables, and the true teachings. The true teachings of Christ. What is Christ? It's not Jesus. Jesus was Yeshua ben Joseph. Christ was a title. Christ meant clarity. You can say even the dragon itself symbolizes clarity. They're two sides of a coin of clarity. That's why I think I've said earlier videos, people really don't want clarity because clarity can be a bitch. Clarity is harsh and it is honest. And that way it feels brutal. But it's not being brutal, it's just being honest. It's like someone walked up to me and said, asked how I'm looking today. You know, the children would say, "Oh, you're looking good today." But someone with honesty might say, "You're fat. Your shirt's wrinkled. Your hat's on crooked." It's not being mean. It's being honest. And people don't seem to like honesty. Especially right now, with different movements going on in this reality, there's a fight against being honest. Everything has to have a special name to it. It has to be child-friendly. We'll just say that. They're trying to make things child-friendly. They don't believe being people can be adults, can be mature, can be wise. They have to protect the children. I say be honest to them. No, you don't have to go around being to everybody say, "Hey, you're fat." That's if it's not asked for. If they're not asking for honesty, then there's no point of giving it to them. Because if they're not asking for honesty, they won't be receptive to it. They'll block it. They'll fight it. They'll go into conflict with it, and just then they'll blame you for they feel bad. You were just being honest. You were just being truthful. They're the ones that took it on into a battle, into a conflict, into a war, and couldn't accept that about themselves. So what? I'm fat. So what? I need to wear glasses. So what? I have bad teeth. So the fuck what? Really, we may get that later. That is just a parable. That is a children's story. This idea was even before Christianity. Before that, you could say the same saying was said in different ways in ancient Egypt through Hermetic teachings in ancient Greece. The old Hermetic saying is milk for babes, meat for strong men. Now, we'll be politically correct in this new era. Meat for strong men and women. It's easier for a woman to become enlightened than it is for a man. They're more in touch with their emotions, with their emotional body. Therefore, they're more in touch with their senses, with the way they feel about things. So it's easier for them to go back into the heart, usually. Man is a lot of times is very closed off, very mental, much more in the mind. Doesn't mean every man is like that, doesn't mean every woman is like that. It's just on average. But you have different degrees. You can have men who are very sensitive and in the heart, as you could have women who are really in the mind, in the mental. There is no one glove fits all here. Everybody has their own unique experience. This is why practices and systems don't work. Everybody is different. And if you're trying to go into enlightenment using a practice and a system that worked for somebody else, the probable chances are it won't work for you. Because you're not them. You didn't have the same energetic story you're playing out that they were. That might not even be the same time period. Okay. We get off on these beautiful distractions. But back to parables, stories, and the true teaching, the teaching of Christ, the clarity. Clarity for the initiative, the parable, the story for the children. The milk for babes, meat for strong men. For those who have gone through the shit, That's why women too, gone through the shit, gone through the experiences, and have allowed it, and have come to some sort of wisdom, and are ready for higher teachings, which are teachings of clarity, teachings of non-machia, non-mental teachings. A lot of beautiful sayings from the old mystery schools that stick around. You know, there's always the symbolism in the mystery school of a child, usually shown as a young boy with a finger to his mouth, going shh. It's where you get the saying, children should be seen but not heard. It comes from the mystery school. Another saying from the old mystery schools was village idiot. They'd be practicing their mystical secret, and usually in some castle or some mansion or just some hidden place, secretly outside of town, because you couldn't do it in town. In the village, it was full of idiots. But let's go back. That sounds harsh and mean. But what is the original word? Where does the word idiot come from? I believe it's ancient Greek. It's idios. Idios is where we get the word idiot from. What does idios mean? What is the meaning of idios? Idios means private, their own. It's kind of that. It means it's private or it's their own, belongs to them. So why would the word private, belongs to them, their own, become a word that meant stupid or foolish or silly or childish? Because if I say idiot, you know what it means. You don't have to go to a dictionary and look it up, but why does a word that means private become that meaning of stupidity? What do they mean by the village idiots? They were lost in their own private reality. They couldn't see beyond the parables. They were being childish. They were being stupid. They were being foolish. And they saw themselves as the higher. You know, there is a tendency for, when you're going through the process of your lifetimes in the mystical schools, at some points to become a little cocky. Usually that energy comes back to them and it clears itself out by the time you get to this point. You won't get into that narcissistic, cocky, asshole type energy anymore. But in your past, you probably did it. You called everybody the village idiot. I say, who's the child there? Only a foolish person would call someone else foolish. That clears itself out with maturity, with wisdom. That's the beauty of wisdom. You no longer have to be the village idiot. When I say it, I don't mean anything negative. I mean someone lost in their own private reality. You can redefine the meaning of things, because when you become clearer, oh, that's not really what that means. That's what humans think it means. Then you go around calling everybody childish, stupid. Really, they're just calling everybody private. Their own. It's kind of like when I say I am, most people say, oh, I am a doctor. No, I am means I exist. That's the ancient Greek. I am means I exist. That's the actual definition of the word. It's just over time, people took it and used it in different ways and put machia and bullshit on top of it. But the truth is still there. It's hidden in its origin. It's hidden behind this. You know, if I say a word like idiot today, it has a parable to it. You have what the mind tells you it means. But there's a deep history that is unseen to that word. When you come to it, you're like, oh, that means private. Their own. Oh, but it's being used to say someone is childish. You start seeing what the energies actually mean. This is what I say by looking beyond. Looking past the sorrow and the suffering and the chaotic stories that people are going into and see its origin. See where it's coming from, where it's being reflected from. Consciousness. When you see a homeless person on the street, they might be drunk or drug addict, they're dirty, they're filthy. That's just a parable. That's a children's story. It's not the truth. There's a soul being there. That's when you go into the and thing. Yes, there's a homeless person there begging on the side of the street, intoxicated. But then you look beyond it. There's a soul being who is so wise and so sure of themselves. They wanted to go deep into an experience so they could allow it. So they could bring that into wisdom and grow and expand and fall in love with themselves even deeper than they have been before. If you get stuck in the children's stories, you get stuck just looking at what the eyes and the mind and mass consciousness tells you what is, that's what you're going to get back. It's what reality is going to get. Now, if you take a step back from it, stand behind the short wall, observe it, shine your divineness on it, your light. Not trying to control it, not trying to manipulate it or understand it or anything, just without effort, without trying, just being there in compassion to it, in allowance of it. Then you get back the truth. Because you send the truth out, and that's what you get back. You send out the pure beautifulness that is consciousness, and that's what returns to you, the origin of everything. You see beyond what people think it means today. Oh, beautiful. You look upon beyond the children. You stop drinking milk from the tit like a little babe. You man up, you woman up, you master up, and you fucking walk into it. You eat solid food. You don't wait to get spoon-fed by the fucking mind, which will tell you what it thinks reality is, but the mind is you call it intelligence, but it's pretty fucking stupid because it isn't conscious. It has a very tiny amount of consciousness, barely any. That's why I say thoughts are like farts. They have little energies in them. They smell, they're linear, they're limited, they're in a box. They don't have a lot of energy. People trying to control things with their mind are idiots, lost in their own private delusion. That's all it needs. Clarity. That is a beautiful thing. Yes, you have to face the dragon. You have to accept yourself. You have to accept what is. Stop trying to manipulate it and control it and try to make it something else. Trying to make it this strange story, trying to make sense of it, trying to go into that linearity of trying to figure it out. When you are a multi-dimensional being, you don't need to figure things out. You are all-knowing. You created it. It comes from you. There's nothing to figure out. You already know. Just allow that knowingness. Allow that Nost. Allow the wisdom. Allow yourself to see yourself. Not just the illusion, not just the beautiful trees, or the buildings, or the cars, or people. You can see yourself behind them. It's like there's a projector projecting them out, but it's not the image on the wall that you're looking at. You need to turn around and look at the light that is shining, that forms those images on a wall or screen from a projector. You are the light. You are consciousness. You exist. You have always existed. Nobody created you. You are a sovereign being of your own. This point 2, or the second part of parables. Children's stories I'm going to talk about a children's story. One I don't prefer. We've kind of touched on it a bit, but I haven't named any names yet. Because I want to talk about this delusion, this parable, that is oneness. Oneness is a children's parable. You could say it was one of the first parables, if not the first. The first delusion that we had to awaken from. Oneness isn't what you think it is. As you look at the homeless man, it is not what you think it is. It is not what the mind tells you. There is a deeper, more beautiful, more sensual thing happening than what you are seeing. So much more sensual, so much more present, so much more real than what you see, than the illusion. That's why they call it the real illusion. It's not a lie. It's just an illusion. It's not good. It's not bad. It could never be any of those things. It's the human. It's the mind you go into that cuts everything up. It turns everything into a judgment that tells you it's good or bad. It's not you. Oneness is the original delusion. And there are still children in the other realm. By children, I mean those who have gone to little experience, who have allowed very little, some to almost nothing. Some of the ones you think are the highest beings, you call seventh dimension or whatever level of dimension y'all have nowadays. Those are the most childish. They are the unexperienced. They have not come down into denseness, to the experience of themselves, so they can come back up yet. And you assume that they're the highest, most authoritative beings when they've had no fucking experience whatsoever. They have allowed almost fucking nothing. They do not have wisdom. They can have intelligence. They have that consciousness connection. And that's what you feel. They have that a large openness to their I am. But as I've said before, the I am itself, your I am, knows not what it is to be human. That's what the human is for. There wouldn't need to be a human. Consciousness would just come down and do it itself. But it needed that part of him, that part to experience it. The I am doesn't have a mind. It doesn't know what it's like. It knows the wisdom that you give it. It knows that that's why you take your experience. It goes into the I am. And all the things it does not understand, that don't make sense to it, that aren't of its high vibration that it is, it takes out. That is what wisdom is. All that stuff that's edited out by consciousness. Because it's too low vibration. It doesn't vibrate with it. It takes everything that, all the nonsense, all the facts and figures and dates and people's names and things like that are just half truths, and it removes them. It doesn't care about that. Human cares deeply about it at times, but that part of you, your conscious part of you, doesn't give a shit about it because it doesn't understand it. Because it only understands high vibration, what you call high vibration, that effortlessness, that ease, and that grace, never having to work at anything. It didn't have to work at creation. Creation just happened. It just said one day, metaphorically speaking, it said one day, who am I? Oh, creation came to me. Oh, look, I can go into myself and experience myself. Oh, that sounds lovely. I'm going to go do that. It doesn't have deep thoughts. It doesn't have philosophy. It just is what it is. I am consciousness. I am compassion. I am gratitude. I am acceptance. I am passion. I am desire. I am all-knowing, and I am wise. Oh, I am all potentials, all at once, simultaneously happening now. That is conscious. That is your consciousness, and that is your oneness. Why do you need somebody else when you are every potential? They couldn't be any potentials you're not, because you're every potential. That means any potential they have, you have. That's why no one's better than anybody else. Everybody is all potential. No different from you, no different from me. We're consciousness. We exist. We're not better or worse than each other. But that's in our pure state of consciousness. But then we wanted to experience ourselves, so we created the human. And we created the soul. We just desired it, and it was so. Perhaps it was already there. We just realized it. Like I said before, creation doesn't have to work front to back or back to front. It can do it either way. It can go left. It can come from the right. Creation can come from the past into the future, or it can come from the future into the past, or even from the past present into both. Past and future. It can create any way it wants. It is unlimited. It does not have limitations. That is your oneness. This grouping oneness, like this. I'm gonna piss some people off. I'm gonna say it. The law of fucking one. The goddamn idiot raw group. By that, children, babes, suckling on the tit of memory complexes. They call it. These soupy clouds of consciousness. Where they're just, I see them as nurseries. These are the nurseries. These are where we came from. We started out in these memory complexes. These memory complexes started out all together in oneness, together. All the memory complexes brought together. Then there was a break. There was a realization. I am. I am that I am. Not a we are that we are, that it was before in that oneness. It simply came, I am. Someone realized himself. And then that broke the illusion. That one person, that one soul being, I wonder where they're at today. No, it wasn't me. But that one soul being realized that just, maybe it was one, maybe it was all of them simultaneously. It doesn't matter. Because if you're oneness, if one of you realizes, hey, I am my own sovereign being, that means everybody realizes it. We had a group realization of I exist. Now we're going into the individual realization of I exist. So these wall of one children who are trying to get everybody to come back to their social memory complexes, their little mass consciousness mental soups, and form back into this oneness where we all just sit in a soup all day and never expand and never have any experience other than being oneness. It's not for me. I said no. Therefore, if I say no, it can never happen. Because if one soul being says, I don't want to join your super social memory complex and become oneness again, we already did that. Get out of your children's nurseries, these little soupy messes of consciousness, have an individual experience, and allow it. But the problem is, they got out of their nursery for a minute, and then it's like a child who, maybe a 2-year-old who goes up to a cat for the first time, doesn't treat it well, mess with it, and what does the cat do? It pats them back and gives them a scratch. Then that person goes, I'm afraid of cats. I meet them 20 years later, like, hey, I just got a new cat. Oh, I hate cats. What do you hate cats? Well, when I was 3, a cat scratched me. I'm like, what were you doing with it? Well, I was holding it around the neck and dragging it around the house. I was like, what did you expect it to do? I know you were 2 at the time, you didn't understand that, but now you're 20-something years old. I think you understand that you were mistreating a cat and it was just protecting itself. That doesn't mean that you think you would reconsider the fact that cats are evil. But they're like that. That's how I see them. They're just these children who kind of got scratched or got scared and ran back to mommy and daddy to suckle on the tit like babes. And they're all there. They want to go back to mommy and daddy in oneness. And they want everybody to come back to them because they know if one person doesn't come back, then they don't really have oneness. And so they go around trying to get people to come back. They're like fucking Mormons going door to door. They're goddamn annoying. I don't know if you read the Law of One, it is such dribble. It's so mental. It's so mental. I mean, it's so complicated and computer-like. It has no passion in it. It doesn't have passion. Like a person who has had experiences, they really understand their passion. They know what it's like to be passionate about something. Some of these fucking aliens don't really know what passion is. They're just they're almost robotic. Because they're unexperienced. They're almost just lifeless. They're just kind of trying to get everybody to come back to their boring club. They don't even know what love is. True love. Because true love is... I'm not meaning the human love. There's human love. They can have that, their own kind of love. But it's more like the human love. It's not real love. True love was discovered on this planet for the first time. The first being to ever experience true love is from Earth. Because I'll be the first one who ever realized themselves. That is true love, when you can experience the love for yourself. They don't have that yet. They don't. They have an intellectual understanding, just like humans do. They create minds. And they can be these supercomputer-like minds that are even faster than you are, can remember everything. But they're just like you. They're caught in the mind. But in a different way. In a very different way. I would look at it this way too. As above, so below. As within, so without. The mirroring. The heavens mirror the earth. The earth mirrors the heavens. Therefore, what you see on earth, what's happened here, what's happening here is kind of a linear, heightened, supercharged, kind of compressed experience of what happened in the other realms. Because when you come here, you bring your stories with you. Your stories from the other realms. You bring those stories into this reality, and they get to be played out in a physical form. Within a parable. Within an experience. And you can come to new realizations, which leads to acceptance and compassion for yourself, and it becomes wisdom. And you understand yourself deeper than anyone else in all of creation, because you have done that. Now, you and most humans out there can remember very little or absolutely none at all of that. So you don't think you're wise. You don't remember your nos, your knowingness. You don't have your angelic senses. Well, they're there. You're just not aware of them. You're so caught in the mental mind, in the mental illusion. You look at these little babes out in the other realms and you think they're super... Wow, they're so intelligent. Wow, they're so open to their I am. So two sides of the coin. You got it backwards. You think they're the smart ones and you're the stupid ones. Or you're the idiots. They're the idiots. You're the adults. They're the children. You are the adult. You just don't remember it now. You've been under the veil of mass consciousness. You could say, I just pretty much did, mass consciousness is the veil. It is the belief system of this planet. It is what keeps everything as it is, because it is mirrored back to you. Your mass consciousness is mirrored back into your experience. Oh, I love these passionate videos. Oh. So you stop going into mass consciousness, you stop mirroring as much. Now you're always going to, as long as you're incarnated, you're always going to be connected to mass consciousness, but you always have to be in it. You can be aware of it, but not like actually in it. But as long as you're in mass consciousness, that's what the mirror is going to reflect back to you. That's it's called mass consciousness. The mirror reflects consciousness. It's simple. But yeah, you think you're the stupid one just because you're kind of in this veil. But really, if you look, that's when you see the clarity of yourself, you're going to say, oh, fuck, I had it backwards the entire time. Man, that mind was so stupid. I thought it was so smart and intelligent, but it told me those idiotic things. It's not what you think it is. It's just a parable, a story, but behind that story there is a true teaching. The true teaching of Christ. The true teaching of consciousness, your clarity, flower of light. That light that is you. That I am that I am. So when I ask you, look beyond. I'm not saying with your fucking eyes. Feel into things. Just feel into it. Take a deep breath. Be aware. Allow. And just feel into it. You can feel into yourself. You can feel into things out there. You can feel into a hat before you buy it. Do I really want this hat? You can feel into it. And just let the answer come to you. It's like, well, that's a weird hat. It's kind of this is a really short brim hat. I thought it was kind of strange, but, I felt into it. Like, that's the hat. I gotta buy it. I just feel it. I can feel its energetic harmony. Do I understand why? No, I don't. Not from a mental perspective, but I know it here. That's why I say you already know. You know everything. You might not have a realization of it yet or understanding of it yet, but you already know it. So never let yourself say, I don't know. You can say, oh, I already know. Just feel into it. Maybe the answer won't come today. It's been a while since you played with it. But wait for it. It will come. Eventually, one day, 6 months, 6 days, 6 years, 600 years, it doesn't matter. You'll just be sitting around on the porch, you're like, oh, this thing, it'll come to you. Oh, fuck. Oh, I just realized this thing. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't looking for it. It just showed up. And you don't even remember ever asking the question 5 years ago. But it came when it was needed. When it served a purpose. It doesn't just, it doesn't, because if you just brought it in nonstop completely, you take it into the mind and try to memorize it all and all mental. It comes when it comes, and it comes, oh, I used it, and you kind of just let it go. Well, a lot of times I don't remember things. I'm like, oh, I remember reading that, but I have no clue what it was. I forgot about it. We call it alternative brain, where you're going into multidimensionality, where you're going back into the out of the mind, and you start to forget this. You'll be in. It's like not knowing, remember where you put your car keys. Being in the grocery store, and you're like, oh, fuck, why am I even here? Why did I even come to the grocery store for? It happens. You get a little alt brain. It kind of, it's all right. Because by then you realize you don't need the brain like you did before. You don't need to use it. You think you need to use the brain all day, every day, but you don't. You'll be very surprised when you get out of it. You're like, oh, fuck. I didn't have to think about any of this stuff. I was thinking about things I never needed to think about before. I just know it. I have to do some things. I think we'll end it there. End it with a laugh. At least I was laughing. So remember, feel into things. Feel into beauty, nos, wisdom, compassion. You can feel into compassion. You can feel into grace. Grace. There is a beautiful grace within you. You can feel into simplicity. These are all angelic senses. These are all things that do not come from the mind, that do not have to be worked at, do not have to be forced. They're simply just there, always singing, always in that song of consciousness, that beautiful light. They are effortless. You don't have to try any of these things, to be any of these things. You just are. You allow it, you assume it, and you allow it. All right. The soul just wanted to add that in real quick. So, wish you all a wonderful, beautiful day. As always, I am that I am. Embodied master in service. Have a great one.